Welcome back, everyone, to Inside the Dome. I am John Dodaro. I am joined with Carlin Jacob and making his, I guess I should say, YouTube debut as well. Special guest speaker, Lance Johnson, is
Hey,
back with us.
that boy Lance. Welcome
Yeah.
back.
What's
How
up,
you doing, man?
everybody?
How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just hyped up for the fall break, and now I'm here with you guys. How are we all doing?
Splendid.
At least you
Absolutely
get a fall
splendid.
break.
Yeah, like Lance said, our WVU fall break is just around the corner. So that's also why this college football episode is dropping on Thursday and not Friday. So, because Lance and I are getting out of here early. So, we're very excited. But like I said, too, this episode is on YouTube. I know this week in the NFL Week 4 edition was not on YouTube. We recorded that very late and we just didn't have time to put it on YouTube. But this episode will be on YouTube as well as all of the Spotify, or not Spotify, all of the podcast platforms, including Spotify, I should say. But today, oh, I love doing these episodes. I really do. College football week 6 preview. We are already at
We're
week
cruising,
6.
dude.
We're cruising. We
It
are
feels like
really
NFL's
cruising.
going slower than normal and college is going really fast. Is that just me?
I mean, NFL's week 4 heading into week 5. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you are kind of right. It feels like college. I mean, we're already at the bye weeks now for college and all
Hey,
that.
we're at bye weeks for NFL too.
That is
It's
true.
almost halfway through the season.
It is. I mean, that's
That
one
is
thing
true.
too. College football is
It's
not
crazy.
as long in general. So, some things to mention before we do our predictions. We will be predicting 15 matchups this week. It's actually the least amount of predictions we've ever done. But Penn State's on a bye week. So I know we like talking about Penn State in depth. They're on a bye week as well as WVU. So normally we like saying WVU stuff, but they're on a bye week.
And
And what?
and
And what?
who won last week, John? Who won last week? You said we
What do
want
you-
to talk about them this week, and we're not. Who won last week, though?
Are you talking about WVU?
I'm talking about good old Rocky Top.
Oh my god, okay, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
No, because Rocky Top's on a
I
bye.
was waiting for that one.
Oh, they're on a bye?
Rocky Top is on a bye. So
Okay.
you said we
okay.
want to talk about them this week, but
Exactly. That's I planned
That's-
ahead. I knew.
and
I knew.
Rocky Top, you'll always be home, sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
I was waiting for that all week just to listen to that.
Tennessee.
That was so nice, Carlin. Okay.
Rocky Top for owning Spencer Rattler this week. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. John predicted it wrong. No, but seriously, good win for Tennessee. And good win for Penn State. We're not going to talk about them or WVU. They're all on their bye this week. There might be other teams that we forgot to mention, but those are the key notes. And Tennessee's just fun to mention because John gets annoyed.
Yeah, so funny. Blood went all the way into his microphone for that part there. It probably
did.
won't. It probably won't sound like he did in the final version, but he did.
See, the best part is if you don't go follow us on YouTube, go do it, because John takes out his headphones every time we do that.
Yeah, I do. Because he does it so loud. And it's
to the mic, and I'll put him in, and I'll do it immediately again just to annoy.
Oh.
But,
oh my goodness. Okay,
anyways, you were
moving-
saying.
Yeah. Yes, moving on. Those are the teams on their bye week. So sorry, Tennessee. That's all you're getting. So let's get into it, shall we? First matchup.
Whoa,
that
whoa,
we
whoa,
will-
whoa, whoa, whoa! You forgot to mention two things.
Okay, yep, I know what you're talking about. Okay, I'll do it. Before we get into the matchups, I got so distracted because Carlin started singing. College game day will be at Oklahoma versus Texas for the Red River rivalry game. So that game will be in Texas.
Texas
As
State
well.
Fair.
Yep. And we will be previewing that very early in the episode. So that game's happening, and some little switches in the top 25 as well. Louisville and Kentucky have entered the top 25, and we'll get into Kentucky a bit later because in terms of predictions last week, they were an interesting team. But Florida, I can't believe we picked Florida, but we did, or at least Carlin and I did. Florida's out, and Kansas is out. But honestly, when we talk about Texas, I'll mention Kansas a little bit more because I do feel bad for Kansas and what happened to them. But now I think it's time we get into the matchups. So, the first matchup we will talk about is Maryland traveling to Ohio State, ranked number 4 still. Ohio State coming off of a little bye week after beating Notre Dame 2 weeks ago. So, Ohio State's at home. They are playing Maryland. Maryland has never beaten Ohio State. But right now, though, Maryland is 5-0 at the moment, unranked. I'll tell you who they beat right now. So far, they beat Virginia, they beat Indiana, they beat Michigan State, beat Charlotte, and beat Towson. Towson, yes. So now they're playing Ohio State. And Ohio State is 4-0, and like I said, they just recently beat Notre Dame. So let's start with our predictions, shall we? Carlin, you're first.
As
Ohio
always.
State or Maryland?
Spread's minus 19.5. Let's think about this for a minute. Is Maryland going to march in to the Horseshoe and win a game against Ohio State? Ohio State barely beat Notre Dame. I think they were on their bye week last week, so they didn't play. But they haven't been playing well. That Notre Dame game and Ohio State game, they haven't been playing to Ohio State standards. Let's put it that way.
Okay, that's fair.
They've been playing well, but they haven't been playing to Ohio State standards. With that being said, the Notre Dame-Ohio State game was a very defensive game. Some may say that Notre Dame lost that game because they only had 10 men on the field. 11's regulation. Some may say that it didn't matter. I truthfully don't think it would have mattered. I think they would have scored that touchdown anyways. 1 man is a huge difference, but I think just the momentum Ohio State was driving down the field was going to happen. But Maryland's coming in to the Horseshoe. It's a noon game. It's Ohio State all the way. But 19.5 is the spread. I think Maryland will cover it for sure, 1,000%. I can put good faith in Maryland covering it. Lance, your thought. Maryland going in Ohio State at noon.
Well, Ohio State needs to start fast on the offense. And if they don't, Maryland could definitely take advantage of that because their offense, I think, is a little bit faster. Like they've been ranked 4th in the Big Ten for first quarter scoring. So they could take advantage of the game and score early in the first quarter, which would give Ohio State some trouble. But the problem with Maryland is that they're not good up front in protecting Talia Tagovailoa. They have allowed, overall this season, 29 sacks. That is a lot. And that is like the 3rd most in the Big Ten. So Talia's not getting much help up front. So I think the Buckeyes are going to bring the pressure on Talia Tagovailoa and give him less time to make decisions. And just like Carlin said, Ohio State is Ohio State. I think they're more battle-tested, and I think they'll be able to take control of this game pretty firmly. So I got the Buckeyes on this one.
Yeah. One thing, too, you do mention Talia Tagovailoa, the brother of Tua. Last game against Indiana, he had 6 total touchdowns that game. So he had a very good game. He's honestly not a bad quarterback at all. But I do like Ohio State, maybe slightly more than you, Jakey. But Ohio State's been good. They did beat Notre Dame, and I thought they would. And that game was very close. And I think beating Notre Dame, I give them a lot of respect for that. I really do. I think Kyle McCord is really developing. He still has great weapons. So I will say, though, their next biggest matchup will be 2 weeks from now when they play Penn State. And that game will be incredible. Most likely. That game will be at Ohio State.
Probably nighttime. It's TBD right now. So
Yeah, it's to be determined. But honestly, yeah, it could be a nighttime game. That'd be epic. I'm not gonna lie. But essentially, not much more to talk about with Ohio State. They have this week and next week to get ready for the Penn State game because they will have to play a very good defense. But I will be taking Ohio State as well. Next game. Actually,
before
you
we
got something
move
else?
on, real quick, John didn't mention this, but let's talk about last week real quick and how we did because I just completely remembered. Lance
Oh, yeah.
went 14-2. Good job, Lance. Good job picking those games. You picked the right team for Florida, as John and I did not. John went 12-4. Pretty good.
No. Let me talk.
His
about that.
overall record's 89-18.
Okay. Last week sucked for me because Utah decided to suck for no reason against Oregon State, who Oregon State blew it the week before. LSU sold because Ole Miss, same exact thing. Ole Miss, they blew it against Alabama, and then for some reason they decided to win against LSU. And then, what's their name? Tennessee, good old Rocky Top. Yeah. I don't like Spencer Rattler. So, yeah. I went 12-4. This is a do or die week for me. I will say that. But
to wrap it out.
Yeah, you.
15-1, ladies and gentlemen. I almost predicted every single game. College is a little bit easier, though, to predict than NFL for 100%. And the only game I lost was that Florida game because Florida decided to sell. 92-15 is my overall record. So,
yeah.
All right. Anyways, moving on. John, what do we have up next?
Oh, what do we have up next? Okay, let's see if we differ here. First chance for us to differ. Number 23, LSU, going to Missouri to play 21 ranked Missouri. And right now, LSU is a 5.5-point favorite. But, actually, yeah. LSU has a 70% chance to win, according to ESPN Analytics. So, I'm going to go last, because I'm going to go first on the next one. Missouri is 5-0. Last week, they played Vanderbilt, beat them 38-21. They barely beat Memphis 34-27. Barely beat Kansas State, who Kansas State actually, that was the game where Kansas State was ranked 15, Missouri was unranked, and Missouri upset Kansas State that week. So they beat Kansas State barely in an upset at the time. Nothing else that interesting after that. So they've actually had a lot of close games, Missouri has. Their best win was against Kansas State, who was ranked 15 at the time. LSU, though, just losing again for the second time this season. They've lost badly to Florida State. They were rebounding. They beat Grambling State. They beat Mississippi State. Arkansas, barely beat Arkansas, I should say. And then they lost to Mississippi in a thriller of a game, an absolute thriller. So this one's tough to predict. It is in Missouri. So I know Lance and I picked LSU last week. So Lance, we'll start with you. Are you taking your LSU Tigers or are you going to take Missouri?
LSU is also favored -5.5.
Yes.
Well, I think LSU is going to be able to bounce back in this game from last week after Ole Miss pulled off that huge win. It all came down to the end there, and it just happened to fall in Ole Miss's favor. But we're talking about LSU here. They have a really good offense. They lead the SEC in total offense and passing yards per game, and you have a really good quarterback, a great signal caller in Jaden Daniels, who is an accurate passer and is able to make plays by running with his legs. Really good quarterback with a good offense. But the problem with LSU is that their defense has been struggling ever since the first game of the year when they played Florida State. So that defense hasn't really helped much. Like they were ranked like 117th in college football overall for passing defense. And there's a reason for that. They give up too many points on the board. So in my mind, I think LSU is able to win this game. And if Missouri wants to do anything about this game, they need to be ready to play against LSU's dynamic offense if they want to win. And I think LSU is going to be able to bounce back and win. Like I got go Tigers all the way.
Okay.
Two
Carlin,
quick questions. Lance, number one, behind you, is that the MJ poster with him shooting?
Yeah,
That was
this
good.
is back 98 when they played the Jazz.
I like it.
Is your favorite team the Bulls?
No, I just thought this was a really cool poster.
I
and
was
it's got
waiting for
really
you to
nice
be
background
the
to
It is a really cool poster, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Second thing, I have no idea if you'll be able to hear that, but some dude just screeched their tires outside your window.
I think I might have noticed that at one point when I was talking. So
Yeah,
this is like downtown Morgantown.
John-
So all sorts of stuff just happens
John
everywhere.
and I are like sitting here doing our own thing. We look up, we're like, but anyway,
Last
let's
week it was
talk.
the police cars. This week it was the car screeching, and what else might be some fire trucks or that.
LSU goes to number ranked 21, Missouri. LSU is favored minus 5.5. This is a difficult game. The game's at noon. It's not under the lights in Missouri. I think it should be under the lights in Missouri. I think that'd be a fun game.
Under the lights. Shout out
Shout out to the new series. Lance will have to get you on Under the Lights one time.
Thank you for the questions, Lance, by the way.
Yeah,
Under the
thanks.
lights.
Yeah, I got you.
Did you see John answered his favorite Taylor Swift song?
That's so funny.
Anyways,
move on.
So I don't know who I want to take here. I really don't know who I want to take.
You see my pick, so
Oh, you made your pick?
I did.
I'm going to roll with you. I'm taking LSU.
No.
I'm taking LSU. Just hear me out. Hear me out. This is a game Missouri could win. If Missouri wins this game, wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. What were you doing? What was these hand signals?
I was making L S
S
U.
U. Yeah, I'm taking LSU to win this game. It's a game. Oh, John's gonna switch his pick. It's a game Missouri should win. It really is. Will they fold? We'll see. They took down number ranked 15 Kansas State though. I'm gonna roll with LSU. John, just stick with your pick, man. I know you need to take different games to catch up with me, but
you need to catch up with you.
Go with your gut. Go with your gut.
Yeah. Okay. While you guys were talking, I was looking up Missouri a little bit more just to see what they got going for them. They do have a good quarterback. He doesn't throw interceptions. Brady Cook is the quarterback for Missouri. And they haven't been as bad on defense as LSU has been against ranked teams. I will say that.
I just burped. I know this is like really weird, and I shouldn't mention this, but it's on camera. And I was like, well, oopsies. Anyways, continue.
You burped.
You'll hear when you listen back. Sorry about that.
Oh, God.
Another
Okay.
unhinged episode.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me.
Okay, Missouri's 5-0. They've yet to lose. It is in Missouri. I will say that. But you're right, Carlin. I am going to go with my gut pick here. I'm taking LSU here. I like Jaden Daniels still. I like the LSU offense. I think it's just going to do enough here to win. But if Missouri wins, I would not be surprised. Next matchup, I'm going first because I said it in last week's episode that I would already make this pick. And I have a good feeling I'm probably going to be wrong, but I don't care at this point. I need to make an upset pick here. The Red River rivalry game. Number 12, Oklahoma. Showdown? Okay, I don't care.
Showdown.
Both teams suck in my eyes. But number 12, Oklahoma, going to number 3, Texas. This is a big-time game. Texas is favored -6.5. Though, ESPN Analytics, matchup predictor, 54% chance Oklahoma wins this game. So essentially, this is a close game. Looking at last week, both teams are 5-0. Oklahoma last week, they beat Iowa State 50-20. And I really like Oklahoma's offense. I really do. The majority of their games, they would have a blowout or just make it close a little bit. But Dylan Gabriel is the quarterback for Oklahoma. And he's been very good, in my opinion, very consistent this season. Last week, threw for 366 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. along with 2 rushing touchdowns too. So in my opinion, if any team can do something against the Texas defense, which the Texas defense has been very good, I think Oklahoma has a shot. I really do. But this game is in Texas. That will make it tougher. I have really liked the Texas offense. I really have. Last week they beat Kansas. So I do want to talk about it a little bit with Kansas. I feel bad because their starting quarterback, Jalen Daniels, did not start this game. He had back tightness. So Kansas really wasn't in it from the beginning. They had no shot, and they were ranked last week. Now they are not ranked. It's kind of the same thing that happened last year. Jalen Daniels went hurt, and the whole season crumbled. So Texas, though, last week, even though they should have won easily, Quinn Ewers had another great week, but threw a pick. Something to monitor. But running back Jonathan Brooks had 21 carries, 218 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's an absolute beast. I am not going to lie. I really like him. I think it's going to be tough, but there's a decent chance this could be a shootout. But I don't like Texas. I really don't. And I said it last week, so I can't go against my word. I'm taking Oklahoma in this matchup. I'm not that confident, though, because I have the feeling that Texas's offense can have a field day and Oklahoma can't keep up. But you don't know. You really don't know. It's college football. Anything could happen in college football. You never know. Carlin, what are you going to do?
Listen, okay?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Okay, when I wrote this, I thought, oh, the camera's inverted. So I need to write it backwards.
Tell the people listening on podcast platforms what you just wrote.
It says horns up. But, John, can someone take a picture of this? Because, like,
I got you.
Yeah, sure.
please.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
I gotta get my camera out too.
That's an average Texas fan right there.
Hang on.
I
hang on.
am the biggest Texas fan.
Why?
I got you. All right, you good?
All right, horns up all the way. Let's talk about this. Texas beat the crap out of Oklahoma last year, 49-0 in the Red River Showdown. Biggest Red River Showdown, and Oklahoma fans left in the first quarter. Now, talking about this game, Texas is ranked number 3. Oklahoma is ranked number 12. The spread's -6.5. Texas is favorite. I could agree with you, John. I really do think this could be a shootout. But it's Texas. I feel like Texas has played a lot of close games this year that, like, the game they should play the closest will be the biggest blowout. You know, kind of like TCU last year, and a little bit where TCU could have kept up with Georgia, but they got blown out of the water. But yeah, with that being said, I am going to roll with Texas. I like Texas in this Red River Showdown. I think Texas is one of my favorites to actually win the Natty this year, as long as Penn State does not go. But then again, all it takes is for you to lose one game and to fall out of the top 4. But give me Texas.
Lance, pressure's on you. Who do you join this week?
This game is such a nail biter, and it's always has been. It could go either way, and when you talk about like the overall series ever since the rivalry has started with the Red River Showdown, the series is pretty close. Like Texas, even though they lead the series, like the overall record is 63 wins with 63 Texas wins compared to Oklahoma's 50 wins. And then there were 5 ties down the line at some point. So this series is kind of close, pretty close. It could go either way. And I'm just debating with my mind right now on who to pick. When starting off talking about OU is a much improved team from what they were last year. They aren't this team where they had like a .500 winning percentage and West Virginia was able to beat them in Morgantown. I think this is a much different story from that. I think they got a really good offense with offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, who has entered his second year as the offensive coordinator under Coach Venables, and it seems to work out in his favor very well because the offense for Oklahoma has been able to convert on third down for most of the times. Like, they were ranked sixth in the nation for like third down percentage. So that's like a really big bonus for them right there. So, however, I think the Texas defense is going to clash with that by looking at how Texas has been doing throughout the year. They've been so consistent on their defense that they were able to beat teams like Alabama, and they took care of business like a top 5 ranked team should, or a national championship team should, against Kansas. So the defense has made big plays, and they continue to be making production on turnovers. So it's a matter of, can Texas stay consistent in this game like they've done with all their other games so far? Because even though Oklahoma's got a high-flying offense with fifth-year senior quarterback and what's his name? I had him on the top of my head.
Which team?
For Oklahoma.
Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel. Yeah. I had that on the top of my head. I'm going to be mad at myself for this later, but
all good.
Yeah, but no, like, he's improved tremendously with that high-flying offense. And look, even though Oklahoma has been a much improved team, I think Texas is the much better team here. I always root against Texas. Like, I have my whole family down south, right within like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there's some that were alumni who came from Texas, and it was just kind of the way I was brought up from my dad's side of the family, that we always were anti-Texas, and we always would pull for TCU and Texas Tech. But
yes,
to be realistic, I think Texas is the much better football team. So I think Texas is actually going to go on for a second win streak in the Red River Showdown. It may be a shootout, but I think Texas is on the winning side on this one.
Horns up, baby. Horns up. Let's go. Me and Lance are riding this team. They are winning this Red River Showdown. John does not know football whatsoever. Horns up. I cannot wait for this to become a clip next week and Texas get absolutely killed in the Red River Showdown. But horns up, Lance. Horns up. Do it with me. Do the little horns up thing. Just once. Come on. Do it. Do it.
No. Never.
No. Us WVU Mountaineers don't do that. We don't do that.
They're the same conference as y'all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
For now.
Until next year, and then Texas goes to the SEC and get some real competition there.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, let's move on from Texas because I can't wait to laugh at both of you next week. But number 13, Washington State. It's been a while since we talked about them because they were also on their bye week, I believe, last week, versus UCLA, who recently left the top 25. I feel bad for whoever picked UCLA, and I don't think that was me. So here we go, UCLA. They have a chance for a potential upset, beating number 13 Washington State. Washington State is 4-0. UCLA 3-1. Last week, like I said, they did not play last week. Washington State, the week before, they played Oregon State, where they beat them. And I think this is where I picked Oregon State. I was wrong. Therefore, I did not pick Oregon State against Utah, and I was wrong again. So, thank you, Washington State, for that. But last game, they beat Oregon State 38-35. In that game, quarterback Cameron Ward threw for 400 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown as well. So he can air that ball out. He can really air that ball out. So, will this game be close, though? Let's see what UCLA has been doing. They are 3-1. They were ranked until they lost to Utah, barely. and I don't like Utah anymore, so thank you. But they lost 14-7 to Utah. They couldn't get the offense going against a very good defense. Dante Moore struggled throwing the ball. He really did. That's the quarterback for UCLA. And Utah was able to just do enough. But we'll get to Utah later. So there is a chance for an upset. I don't have the betting odds for this. Actually, I do. Wow. Okay, guys. Upset alert potentially. UCLA is a 3-point favorite in this game. And they have a 66% chance to win. So UCLA is actually the favorite in this matchup. So, start with you, Lance, this time. UCLA or Washington State? Who you taking?
Before you go real quick, this game is at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So that game's at what? 9?
Yeah.
There's no way that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Why is that at 9 in the morning? There's no way that's right.
Let me see. Wait, no. Yeah, you're wrong. It's at 3 p.m.
Okay, so it's at noon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's at noon. And
So FanDuel,
UCLA.
fix that.
That's why you use ESPN and not FanDuel. We don't promote gambling.
Dude, I was so confused. I was like, why are you playing a football game at 9 in the morning?
Yeah, that'd be very weird. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who would show up aside
Me.
from diehards. But Lance, your pick for this one.
Upset alert question mark? I don't know.
The upset is favored.
Yeah. Man, I was really getting to thinking, but like with Washington State though, like I really would think they could win this game simply because they beat Oregon State, and Oregon State was able to beat Utah, and Utah let me down last week. So, like, I'm deciding between like those two factors. And another thing too, before I pick, is that Utah was barely able to beat UCLA, so Oregon State was easily like the best out of Utah and UCLA. But Washington State, though, I think UCLA actually. I'm gonna have to watch for the upset alert. I think UCLA's got this.
Picking the upset alert. I like it. I'm gonna pick Washington State here just because I think, like you said, Lance, you look at who each team lost to. Actually, Washington State didn't lose to a team. UCLA lost to Utah, which I think is a bad loss, in my opinion. And Washington State was able to beat a team like Oregon State, though it is at UCLA. That is tough. But I'm not going to take the upset here. I'm going to take Washington State. They're ranked number 13. I feel like they're ranked that for a reason. I'm not going to take the upset. But Carlin, will you take the upset?
Man, it's been a long, long day. Anyways, no, I'm not. I'm taking Washington
Are you
State.
serious?
I am serious. I wanted to
You're
go
playing
before
so
you.
safe.
No.
You're playing so
I
safe.
literally no.
You're
I
playing it
literally.
so safe.
Hey, I'm speaking here. I was sitting here and I was like, I'm picking Washington State regardless. I don't think UCLA is going to win this game. I think it's going to be a close game, but I still think Washington State's going to win. Which isn't really an upset in my opinion. Granted, UCLA is favored, but in my opinion, the ranked team's favored on paper. Like when you see that. But yeah, I'm still taking Washington State. Sorry.
All right. Okay, I see how it is. So, I don't have a chance at catching up to you, I guess. So.
Syracuse goes to number ranked 14 UNC. You're going to take the upset there, John.
Okay, let me talk about it because I'm going to pick first. I picked UNC every single week so far. I've never went against them. Looking at their schedule, who would they have played so far? I know Syracuse just lost to Clemson. They're 4-1. They had 4 straight wins until they lost to Clemson, 31-14. It's crazy that we don't even talk about Clemson now. But UNC recently, they beat Pitt. They actually just came off of a bye week. I should mention that. Their latest win was against Pitt. Not surprising one bit. Not surprising at all. Drake May is their quarterback. Very good quarterback. Top prospect in the next NFL draft. They beat Minnesota in good fashion. They did struggle against App State. They beat South Carolina, a team I do not like anymore. So, I've picked them every time. Carlin, you have not picked them every time because you picked South Carolina week 1. So, I'm going to stay with picking UNC. I will not differ away from them. They are currently my team. So, I'm taking UNC. Carlin, who are you taking?
I'm not playing it safe. I just don't think Syracuse is going to get a win. UNC is so the obvious choice. There's not really much to say about this game. I mean, has UNC lost a game yet or no? No.
Nope, undefeated.
No. Duke was the one who lost a game, which I think Duke's on their bye week real quick. So sad to see what happened against Duke and Notre Dame. Yeah, is Duke on here? Duke's not on here. Yeah. Yeah, so sad to see their quarterback getting hurt on the last play, as well as another quarterback got hurt as well. There was a lot of hurt players last week. It was really sad to see. So prayers go out to them, and hopefully they get a full, speedy recovery. But yeah, UNC is going to beat Syracuse. There's no doubt about it. The spread's 8.5, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think, you're right.
Yeah, I really see North Carolina winning by more, so give me UNC. Mr. Lance.
UNC is easily the better team here. I mean, like, Syracuse is just, they got their own set of problems, and UNC, I think Tar Heels are going to win this one easily.
I like it. Short and sweet. I like it. I like it a lot. Let me mark that down.
I gotta go first this time because I don't want to hear that.
You can
I'm
go
taking
first.
a safe pick. No.
Oh yeah, you're okay. I know you're about to take the safe pick. Okay,
Ladies
go ahead.
and gentlemen,
Start it off.
number ranked 11, Alabama. The Roll Tide Roll, whatever they're called. I don't even know. They're the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's what they're called. The Crimson Tide is going into Texas A&M. The spread for this game is -1.5. Alabama is favored. Going into Texas A&M. Let's talk about Texas A&M because we really don't talk about those Aggies a lot. So let's talk about the Aggies. The Aggies are currently second in their division. They are, let me count. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. I think they won 4 games.
They're 4-1. Yeah,
4-1. Their worst loss was to...
I got it for you right now if you want me to say it.
Miami.
Yeah, their only loss was to Miami, Florida, who's ranked number 17, by the way, 48-33. And they beat New Mexico. They beat LA Monroe. They beat Auburn, who actually put up a fight against Georgia, and they beat Arkansas. So, continue.
It's a close game. Bama hasn't just been looking like Bama recently. Their quarterback room is so unique to say this year. They haven't really had a star-stood-out quarterback. Who did they start last week?
They've been starting Jalen Milroe, Alabama.
So, Jalen Milroe.
He's their guy.
So, let's talk about Bama. Bama lost to Texas 34-24. They beat South Florida 17-3. They beat Ole Miss 24-10. They beat Mississippi State 40-17. Bama is getting back on track with the last win. But this game isn't in Bama. It's in Aggie land. So, John, Lance, let's go Aggies. Give me Texas A&M.
You're taking Texas A&M.
Yeah, because I can confidently take it and still win next week, so I really don't care. Give me Texas A&M. I think Bama's going to win, but I'm taking Texas A&M.
All right, I'm going to go next. I'm going to take Bama because I think after that Texas loss, I'm not even going to count South Florida, who they played after. They beat them 17-3, but they were testing out other quarterbacks, and that didn't work at all. But Mississippi versus Alabama, I picked Mississippi, and I was wrong. And ever since I've been taking Bama, and I like their win against Mississippi State. I think they're starting to find a groove. Jalen Milroe is starting to find a groove too. He is a very good running quarterback. And once he figures it out throwing, I think he could be a decent college quarterback. But Carlin, you and I have talked about Alabama a lot. I still think they have their struggles. I don't view them as a full-on legit team. And also they are still trying to I'm still trying to figure out with Bama, like, who their top weapon is. Like, it's so inconsistent with Bama. Like, I miss the days with Judy, Waddle, Devontae Smith, and like all those studs. They really haven't had that in a while since Jameson Williams. I would say him and John Mechie were kind of the last two really good Bama receivers. So I'm trying to wait and find that, and even running back too. Their last good running back was Jahmyr Gibbs, actually. So they haven't really found that yet this year, but I'm still going to take Bama here. I like what they've been doing lately. I don't see them. I mean, down the line, they play. Who do they play? They got Arkansas, then they got Tennessee, they got LSU, Kentucky. That stretch is going to be terrible. And then they end the year off with Auburn, which is going to be a fun game. So they got a tough road. I probably won't be picking Alabama in one of these later games, but for now, I'm going to take Alabama. Lance, what about you?
This Alabama team is not what we're all used to be seeing. Like, Alabama had some struggles with finding an identity on offense early in the year, and that took some time. But once they played at South Florida, it was just like, okay, now we really gotta give Jalen Milroe some time and try to figure things out, or else Nick Saban, he knows what he's doing. He could switch off to another high prospect QB if he has to, but I think Jalen Milroe has improved since that South Florida game, and it's proved to me since that Ole Miss game, like, yeah, we're starting to get into the groove of things, and look, if we could work on the passing game a little bit, then we'll be fine. The running game is good, and what makes Jalen Milroe so lethal is that he can use his legs. And then moving on to the next week, which was last week when they played against Mississippi State, Bama looked like the Alabama that we're used to seeing. So I think Alabama's going to continue to improve and reach that high level status that we all look up to them as. So give me Alabama on this one.
Taking Bama. Okay. So Lance and I are picking Alabama, and Carlin is taking Texas A&M. So the third time already that we have differed in one way or another. So I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know if it's going to keep rolling, though, after this matchup. I'm going to go last on this one. But Virginia Tech versus number 5, Florida State. Florida State is kind of interesting. We'll say that. They've had a lot of close games. I'm not going to lie. They are 4-0. They're coming off of a bye week. I should mention that. Their last game, though, I don't even think we got to talk about it much. It was against Clemson. So they beat them 31-24. And in overtime as well. They beat Boston College, beat Southern Miss, and beat LSU. So, Lance, they beat your team, the LSU Tigers. They are playing Virginia Tech. Do you think Virginia Tech could potentially pull off an upset?
Now, what makes Virginia Tech a little bit more special to me than all the other teams in college football that we've talked about was Virginia Tech used to be my childhood team. So I'm a little bit familiar with them more than most of the other teams that we mentioned about here. So I've grown up watching them. I've known the ups and downs and just knew a little bit about the history. So I've grown up in the community. Like, I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is like around 2.5 hours from Virginia Tech. So it's kind of like a little bit of a mix of your Hokie fans, and then you have your UVA fans, and then of course you have the Liberty fans. But to the point of the football team, this football team is still rebuilding from what Justin Fuente did a couple years back when Virginia Tech was starting to adjust more into an offensive team. And ever since Fuente left, they have Coach Brent Pry, who used to be the defensive coordinator, I believe, for Penn State. And Virginia Tech is starting to shift more into a defensive team. So there's still a lot to figure out with this Virginia Tech team. They're still not a really good team after these years of struggling to get back into the top 25 and be recognized as they once were back in the 90s and 2000s with Coach Frank Beamer. But as of right now, like, the Hokies aren't that great. Like, they just lost to Marshall like a couple weeks ago. So Florida State, they're in tip-top shape. I'm not worried about them in this game. So give me Florida State.
All right, Carlin, who do you got?
Yeah, the Hokies let Pitt score last week.
That is sad.
Yeah, Pitt doesn't really have a good quarterback.
That is true. They did beat Pitt last week, 38-21
last week, but it's not going to matter. Florida State is favored by 23.5. I'm pretty sure it's the spread. It is 3:30 game in Florida. Yeah, give me Florida State. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I'm not going to overthink it either. Virginia Tech, they beat Pitt. They lost to Marshall, lost to Rutgers, lost to Purdue, beat Old Dominion. So that's what their record is. Florida State, this should be an easy win, I would say. This should be an easy win. So I am going to take Florida State. So we're going to take a little quick break. We just got to figure out something real quick. But when we come back, we got more games to talk about, a lot more games. We're the game of the week, technically. But there's still a lot more to talk about, especially because Georgia had a little shaky game last week. So we'll talk about that and more right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, from the break. What did you just say?
Let's continue.
Okay, welcome back from the break. If you were listening on YouTube, there was probably no break at all. It was probably just a little 1 second flash to the next
Cheers.
scene. So, yeah, YouTube listeners, you got that. Other podcast listeners, you had some transitions. But, yeah, moving on to the rest of the schedule. We got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 8 more matchups to do. So, this next one, I'm actually curious to see what you all predict here. Georgia, number 1 team, is hosting number 20, Kentucky. And at first you would say, oh, this is an easy matchup for Georgia. They're number 1. Georgia barely beats Auburn, of all teams. And I think, like, we shook that matchup off last week when we talked about it. I mean, they only beat Auburn 27-20. And Auburn is a team that was 3-1, and now they're 3-2. But they put up a fight. They really did, and Brock Bowers kind of saved Georgia in that game. So, but Kentucky, though, Carlin and I were wrong. We did not pick Kentucky against Florida, and they won. And now Kentucky is also ranked 20. They are 5-0 at the moment. And last week they beat Florida. Looking at what they did, their quarterback, Devin Leary, didn't do that well. Only 9 for 20, 69 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. But here was the story of the game for Kentucky. Raman Davis, the running back, had 26 carries for 280 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And might I add, he had 200 rushing yards during the second quarter. I should say that as well. He had a fantastic game for Kentucky. Now, let's see if there was any continuity with that. The game before, Davis only rushed 17 times for 78 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's not going to be cracking 200 every game, but something to note there. But they do play Georgia. Georgia's 5-0. Honestly, I don't even know how they're ranked number 1 still after that. Them barely beating Auburn. But honestly, I don't know who I would put at number 1 if you ask me right now.
Michigan.
But I don't. Michigan. They struggled against Bowling Green. I'm not even going to lie about that.
But Michigan still blew out Bowling Green.
Yeah, but their quarterback threw 3 picks against Bowling Green. I would not be willing to do that. Put them at 1. But I'm going to take Georgia in this matchup. I'm going to go first. I'm not going to take the upset. Georgia is a 15-point favorite as well. But, I mean, there is room for an upset. I mean, the fact that they could barely beat Auburn, there is a chance Kentucky could beat them. Easily a chance. But, Lance, you were the one last week.
Hey.
Who,
His
what?
name's not Lance.
Oh, my God. Okay. During our break, he changed his name to Rocky Top.
Rocky
That
Top.
Rocky
okay.
Top.
Always
Yeah.
home, sweet home to
Holy
me.
We're
Rocky
done with
Top.
that. We're done with that. Lance, are you going to take Kentucky back-to-back weeks, or will you take Georgia with me?
Well, first off, I think you should have let Carlin continue with the Rocky Top. I think
No.
that would have been just beautiful if he sung it again. But
No.
let's take a look at this about Kentucky and Georgia here. So, we'll start off with Georgia from last week's game when they played against Auburn. I didn't think Georgia looked too good in that game. Like, they weren't able to generate much of anything on offense. That Auburn defense was the only thing that they had coming into the game, and that was the only thing that they had in the game mostly. So it all came down to the fourth quarter, but before that, it was just tied throughout. So I thought Georgia didn't look good in that game, in my opinion. But with Kentucky, though, like I had that gut feeling that Kentucky could pull off from last week. Like I just had that feeling that Kentucky defense was going to prevail, and it turns out they had a good running back as well. So, look, I would not count Kentucky out of this game. Like I really think Kentucky could really keep things competitive playing against this Georgia team right here. Now, looking at the past schedule that Georgia has had so far, Auburn has been really only the true competition that Georgia has had. But also, there's also South Carolina that kept it close as well, which the score ended up being 24-14. But so Georgia is not as good as they were with the 2 years. First year, they had JT Daniels, and then Stetson Bennett took place and won the first championship. And then the second year, go and win the second championship with Stetson Bennett. But honestly, I think Kentucky. I'm going with Kentucky again here. I
Yes.
think Kentucky can pull it off. So I'm leaning with my gut feeling on this one. Go Wildcats.
Okay. Carlin, who are you joining this week? Might I add, before you make your pick, last time you joined me in a Kentucky matchup, we both got it wrong. So who are you going to join this week?
So I just closed all my tabs. Great.
Unfortunate.
Last time the Georgia Bulldogs lost a game was in the national championship back in 2022. The national championship 2022, like year 2022.
Wait.
They lost.
Last time
to
Georgia
Alabama.
lost?
They lost to Alabama.
What?
No, they're back to back. So sorry, the year before. It would have been 2021. I forgot they went back to back. My bad. But I think that's the last time they lost. I don't think they're like 25-0 right now. I'm pretty sure.
I
Someone
believe
could
so.
fact
I
check
can't.
that.
I can't recall. I'll fact check while you talk. But
So with that being said, that game against Auburn was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Because you think, oh, Georgia should at least blow Auburn out, not keep it close. And Auburn kept it close. No one was expecting that unless you're an Auburn fan. And I don't even think a lot of Auburn fans were expecting that. Georgia is... You're good.
I found an answer to your question. So, the last time Georgia lost, it was before their first of the back-to-back championships where they beat Bama that year. It was in 2021. They lost to Alabama that season, but then they would beat Bama in the championship. So that was the last time they lost.
So that's how they went back
2
to
years
back.
ago. Yeah.
I see. Georgia is favored by 20 something. I'm pretty sure I saw. Is that what I saw?
15. 15-point favorites.
15-point favorite. Whew.
Come on.
Man, those Georgia Bulldogs, baby. Those Georgia Bulldogs. But
Who you
Kentucky.
taking? Come on.
But Kentucky.
Come on.
It's in Georgia. It's a 3:30 game. Kentucky
Come on.
has to march in Georgia to do it.
Come on.
I really don't know, dude. This is a hard game to pick. It truly
Make
is
the pick.
a hard game to pick. But shame on me once for not doing it. Shame on me twice for not doing it. But you won't catch me my third time. Give me Kentucky to win this game.
Oh, let's
I will say
go.
Kentucky. Do I think Kentucky will win this game? Probably not. Do I think Kentucky has a really good chance? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Georgia, I have no idea what's going on with Georgia right now. I truly don't. It's kind of insane, though, that they've been on this long winning record and no one's dethroned them. And Kentucky may just do it this weekend. It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a very interesting game. My eyes will be peeled on that right after the Red River Showdown.
I like it. I like it a lot. Now, if it is the case where Kentucky beats Georgia and I'm wrong, I will be depressed. I will say that. I will be very sad if that is the case. And I will essentially give up in these predictions because I will probably have no shot at beating Carlin. So, I need you, Georgia, this week. I need you. I really need you. But, moving on to another game. This is another close game here. Notre Dame versus Louisville, who Louisville is now ranked. They are 25. So, last week at College Game Day, all of us picked Notre Dame against Duke, and we were all right. Obviously, the week before, though, it was only Carlin and I. Carlin picked Notre Dame, and I picked Ohio State, and I was right. So, this week, it's Notre Dame and Louisville. We'll talk about Louisville a little bit, because I don't think we really talk about them in general. So, Louisville, they are 5-0. Notre Dame is 5-1. Notre Dame, extra game compared to all these other teams. Louisville recently beat NC State. They beat Boston College, dominated them, I should say. Beat Indiana, dominated against Murray State, and barely beat Georgia Tech. So now they're playing Notre Dame. This game is in Louisville. Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite and a 70% chance to win, according to ESPN. So it is close. There could be upset alert. But I'm going to make my pick first. I liked what I saw from Notre Dame last week. I did. I had Notre Dame beating Duke. I didn't smell an upset last week. It could have happened. It easily could have happened against Duke. Duke's a very good team.
It was
Obviously,
very
the
close
quarterback.
to happening.
It was close, but Notre Dame won when it mattered most. Their quarterback, Sam Hartman, I believe, a very, very clutch run on 4th down, 4th and long, to help seal that game away. I like Notre Dame. They didn't lose to Duke. I don't think they're going to lose to Louisville. They're away again, another away test. So I'm going to take Notre Dame. Carlin, who are you taking?
Man, I'm not getting good at this. I'm taking Notre Dame. Notre Dame. Their favorite minus 6.5. Actually, this is really, really close. It's a 7:30 game in Louisville, the home of Lamar Jackson, essentially. That's all I really remember Louisville for. Minus 6.5. I think Notre Dame's going to go in. This is their third night game in a row. Is that nuts?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is.
It's this reaction. Lance, I love having you on this podcast. I'm glad you can do this and that you're a Rocky Top fan with me.
Keep talking.
I enjoy every episode that I do. So I guess it's my turn now.
Yeah,
Real quick,
give me Notre Dame.
before before Lance talks, I do want to say something about Notre Dame that I forgot to say. Next week, they play USC. Another thing to mention there, they play USC, then they have to play Pitt, then Clemson, then Wake Forest, then Stanford.
Hey, that Pitt game might be very rough for them, just saying.
Yeah, so rough. But knowing that, their schedule will get a bit tougher, especially with USC next week. So, Lance, who do you got for this week?
Well, Notre Dame has done really well against ACC opponents. And it's just like what I said last week. They've had a really good record, and it's just like pretty much they've been unstoppable when they play against ACC teams. Like if they were playing in the ACC right now, they could easily even win the conference. Like they've already beaten Duke since last week. They could have FSU as their competition, so it could be neck and neck. But Notre Dame historically has done well against ACC opponents, and with Louisville being ranked number 25, I still don't think that they have the capabilities to beat a high caliber defense that Notre Dame has, because that's been their bread and butter is the Notre Dame defense. It's what kept them staying alive in the games, just like last week and even the week before that when they played Ohio State, which was a low scoring game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. But once again, this is an easy choice here. I'm going with the Fighting Irish here.
I like it. We are all taking Notre Dame for the second straight week. Louisville, if you do make the upset, I will congratulate you. I would be very impressed. But moving on, I have an up and down relationship with this one team. Not Arkansas, but I did say the 1 week against LSU. Not to underestimate Arkansas, and they put up a good fight against LSU. But the team that ended up beating LSU was Ole Miss. They were the team that did it. Their only loss is to Alabama, where they lost 24-10. I was not very happy with that. But they rebounded in a very, very good game. Their defense, though, struggled. I will say that. But their offense thrived. Jackson Dart, 26 for 39, 389 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Quinshon Judkins, very good name there. 33 carries, 177 rushing yards. What rushing touchdown, along with a receiving touchdown on 1 catch. 2 wide receivers, Trey Harris, Jordan Watkins, over 100 receiving yards. Both had a receiving touchdown for Ole Miss. They're playing Arkansas. KJ Jefferson is their quarterback. I did say not to underestimate Arkansas. I did say that. But looking at the odds for this game, Ole Miss is an 11.5 point favorite. And according to ESPN, they have an 82% chance to win this game. So I'm going to take Ole Miss. I'm going to take good old Mississippi here. Just the fact, just using logic here. Arkansas didn't beat LSU, but Ole Miss beat LSU. But both teams made it very close against LSU, so who knows, honestly. I think Arkansas, if they were able to put up a good fight against LSU, and Mississippi almost lost, it could go either way. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to play it safe here. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Lance, who do you got?
Yeah, just like you, I got Ole Miss winning this game. Arkansas right now they're right now an undisciplined team, if you will. They've been leading, like in the SEC in particular, for the highest number of penalties committed per game. And that's really taken a toll on them a lot, and it's costed them games, especially with the BYU game. That was definitely a winnable game for Arkansas, but it was just those costly penalties in the game that costed them to win. So instead of having this losing record that they would have had, that BYU game could have been something that, well, that should have been added on to the winning total for this year. But instead, with more than just the BYU game, but with also like other games like throughout the whole entire like season as far as the season stretches for this year. Arkansas is an undisciplined team, and they're not going to be able to improve on that as much playing against a good team like Ole Miss, who just came off a major win beating LSU last weekend. So give me the Rebels of Ole Miss. They'll win.
Carlin, who do you got?
Okay, is it Ole Miss or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss.
So why do you keep calling Ole Miss?
I say Ole Miss the majority of the time. Maybe once in a while I might say Ole Miss. I am sorry.
I was so confused. But Ole Miss is favorite, and I think Ole Miss will win this game. It's a 7 p.m. game in Mississippi. Like John said, minus 11.5 favorites. Honestly, Arkansas could keep it close. You could be on upset alert here.
Could be.
Could be on upset alert, but I think Ole Miss and the boys are going to get it done. Give me Ole Miss. This next one's going to be a nail biter, though. I don't know who's winning this game, truthfully.
Oh, it's going to be such a nail biter. It is going to be so exciting. I'm not going to lie. Number 2, Michigan versus Minnesota. Wow.
John,
What
I dare you
a
to take
game.
Minnesota. I dare you.
Well, let's look at it, shall we? So, the betting odds. I always love
Minus
starting with the
19.5.
betting odds.
Michigan's favored minus 19.5. Though it's a 7 p.m. game in Minnesota. Minnesota fans could
Okay.
show up. The
Okay.
golfers. Hey, those golfers, man. Those golfers.
Let me say this. Michigan has an 87% chance
Wow.
to
it's not
beat
a 99.
Minnesota. It's not the highest we've seen in some of these matchups. So, I think we know about Michigan. I'll go briefly with them. They beat Nebraska 45-7, beat Rutgers 31-7, beat Bowling Green 31-6, beat UNLV 35-7, and beat East Carolina 30-3.
They haven't played
Bunch of
anyone good
garbage,
this
yeah.
year.
Bunch of garbage teams, and that's
Haven't
going to
proved
continue.
themselves.
That's really going to continue for like the next 4 weeks until they play Penn State. I mean,
and
it's
then
kind
they
of
play
sad.
Ohio State. Yeah, they need to
Yeah.
fix this conferences things. I would love to see Penn State versus Alabama maybe every couple years.
Okay.
Same thing with
Here's-
Pitt and stuff, but they need to
Yeah.
fix these conferences. I'm glad because Georgia always has an easy game until the champion.
Yeah. Here's Minnesota. They beat Louisiana 35-24, lost to Northwestern, which I think that says enough right there. 37-34, lost to UNC 31-13, beat Eastern Michigan 25-6, barely beat Nebraska. I think that just says enough right there. I'm taking Michigan. Michigan should win this easily. I don't see them losing until they play Penn State potentially. So I'm taking Michigan. Carlin, who do you got?
I got Michigan winning this game too. Hey golfers, I would love to see y'all rush the field and take down the number 2 ranked team in the country. Auburn almost did it last week. Maybe it's your turn. But with that being said, I think Michigan's just going to outplay them and they're going to school them. Give me Michigan. Lance, who you
Okay.
taking?
Jim Harbaugh has good chemistry with Michigan, so I got the Wolverines win this one.
I like it. Short and sweet. I like it. Next matchup. I don't know if I'd call this an upset potential or not, just looking at it more. Miami of Florida versus Georgia Tech. Miami is a 21-point favorite, and they have a 91% chance to win this game. Miami so far, they're 4-0. They played Temple. They beat them 41-7, had a bye week recently. They beat BCU. They beat Texas A&M. And they beat Miami of Ohio badly. So they're playing Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, so far, they are 2-3, I believe. Yes, 2-3. Last week, they played Bowling Green and lost to them. Shout out to Dan Smith. That is his school, Bowling Green. They beat Georgia Tech. So, and they also, earlier in the season, they lost to Ole Miss, 48-23. Georgia Tech, if they lost to Bowling Green, that means I'm not going to pick them in this game. I'm taking Miami. It is in Miami, too. No shot for an upset here. I would be very surprised if it happened. Carlin, who are you taking?
Miami. Miami's favored by 20.5. I think it is. Yep. Don't overthink it. Give me Miami. Lance.
Georgia Tech has been Georgia Tech, as sad as the reality has been that they've fallen into, but Miami is clearly the better football team here, so Miami's winning.
Okay, I like it.